go for quite a run with that show. So that would be mine. Any more questions?
Yeah, let's fire away. Right here in the front here, we'll go there. It's only a matter of time. You cannot escape anywhere without saying over 9. Who knows what this is? Before I scream it out, and other people are like, why is that man screaming the words over 9,000? I played Vegeta, obviously, in Dragon Ball Z, and lost my voice multiple times on that show because it's the most amount of screaming I've ever done on anything in my life. And that's all he does is yell and scream. But it's very interesting with dubbing when you're trying to match the flaps of the Japanese animated characters. I was directed a certain way. Like, yeah, there's certain sort of flaps for when what they wanted me to say there. I see on my script, Vegeta says, well, his power levels, Anapis is over 9,000. I'm like, over 9,000? And I looked at it, but it didn't quite match the flaps. Like, his mouth stays open longer at the end. So I'm reading it, and I don't know how to say it. And I'm like, over 9,000? And the director's going to go, no, that's too short. He's got to go, it's longer. And I'm like, oh, okay. Over 9,000? No, it's longer than that. Oh, for God's sakes. Over 9,000! And then, yeah, that fit, good, next line. And then it becomes a bizarre meme that you all seem to have heard many times. And I've said many times. There you go. Another question? Maybe right here, yeah.
I was wondering, when you're doing characters like Vegeta and the Shin you're saying you lost your voice a bunch of times. Do you have any special techniques to keep that raspiness in your voice?
The raspiness is not an issue for me. Like, I play Wolverine for a new Marvel animated motion comic series right now, which is really deep and raspy, and for a number of episodes of that. And Ryuk wasn't hard on my voice, or Vegeta when he talks. Doesn't bother me at all. It's yelling usually that does it for anyone. And any character you play, I know Marika plays a new character in a new series we're doing that just the other week, even though when she speaks it's probably not that, but when you have to yell as a character, that's what does the damage and really is hard on the vocal cords. And obviously a show like Ryuk can yell ever. So the raspy part is not a big deal at all to do that. It's when you have to scream with those voices, then you have to start going. It's just like if you guys go to a game, a hockey game, football, whatever, and you yell long enough at a rock concert, you do that for an hour and a half, and you're like, oh man, you're hoarse at work the next day. When we do that for 4 hours in a session, and a Dragon Ball session is nothing but that. So it's not good. So it's the yelling part as opposed to, for me, the type of voice that I choose. It really is yelling.
I don't know how many times I've seen in Dragon Ball Z this particular scene. Young Trunks and Goku, Goten, go away, one of those guys. Jesus. Anyway, when I did the old Young Trunks, I felt like I was doing this forever and ever. I think that show was one of the biggest shows of fighting and punching and falling down hills and oh my gosh. So talk about needing Bratasols or whatever for your throat. It does tax you after a while. If you have some texture in your voice, so you tend to go a longer period of time than if you have a pretty clean throat. You have to push it.
Yeah.
But oh man, that'll go down in history.
More.
Other questions?
Hi there. As you've been saying, sometimes actors have to shout.
Yes.
Do you have any tips for people like myself, aspiring actors?
Yeah.
How to take care of your voice when you have to yell? To not sustain damage.
Glenlivet is good. Glenfiddich, any of the Glens, really. No, I don't know.
Wrap yourself in bubble wrap!
Keeping hydrated is the main thing when
After
you're performing.
every take.
Water. Keep hydrated.
And if you have a particularly challenging thing going on and you do have a lot of yelling, then you need to put yourself on vocal rest. I've put myself on days of vocal rest where I just don't talk. If I'm not going to work, if I'm not in the studio, I'm not talking. And that's helpful because it just helps things settle down. And I learned a technique from somebody the other day like a month ago who was visiting a speech pathologist. And so what you do is you take a straw, you put it in a bottle of water or a cup, whatever. Put the straw in your mouth, purse your mouth, and like you're a little kid blowing bubbles into the drink. Right, the straw going on. You blow the bubbles, and on the blowing of the bubbles, you vocalize on a mid-range tone, almost as if you're humming, but you're blowing bubbles in at the same time. And what it does, apparently, is it sort of massages your vocal cords and allows them to just reset themselves. And it's very helpful. Since I've been doing it, I found my recovery time in after crazy yelling sessions and stuff like that, it's just felt a little bit less demanding.
So that's
and destroying. So it's a good one.
That's the good right answer. What I do, I sing in the car on the way to a session, and then I drink lots of chocolate milk afterwards. I don't think that's really what you're supposed to do, but that's what works for me. Also, I mean, they say when you're singing, you sing from the diaphragm and all that kind of stuff. What I find when you're shouting and screaming for 4 hours in Dragon Ball, you try and scream with your entire body, not just up here. If you keep it all up here, you're going to destroy things. So you try and, as much as you can, spread it around your entire body as it projects out. Does that make any sense? I don't know.
It does. It's interesting you say that because on the way to the studio, I actually hum like I don't listen to any music. I don't say anything. I'm just humming, and I just try to get there's a certain level when you're humming where your ears kind of vibrate.
Yep.
Okay, well, you get to that level, and I just try to hum all the way to the studio. But sometimes when your voice is raspy, you may need it. Sometimes I'll sit there and I'll, for example, on set, I'm in the trailer when I'm working on film, I've wanted to make my voice raspy. I'll sit there and yell my everything okay, Dean? Yeah, no, I'm okay. Just to get
Something wrong with you?
Voice. Yeah, yes, there is. And, humming is good.
Sorry to interrupt. I take actually a lozenge with me in the studio. Like I'll take a Bradisol or something, but at home I love a pure honey with fresh squeezed lemon. It's really good too if you have a cold and you have that dry cough at night. Forget the Benlin, forget the Vicks and all that stuff, but it's like a paste and it just completely soothes your throat. So that's another thing. You can also do, water, salt water and gargle with that. But in the studio, that's what I'll do is have the candy with me.
And next, let's see. Let's go in here. Black Town.
Everyone asks, what's your favorite role? Do you guys have a least favorite? There's got to be something that you regret doing.
Yup. Weevil on Powerpuff Girls Z. Because of exactly what we were just talking about. Ratching the voice, screaming. I had no idea that it was going to turn into what it did, i.e. every episode. And it was brutal. And I don't have a raspy voice. I don't get hired to have a scratchy, cool, textured voice. So when I come in the next day to work with a scratchy, cool, interesting voice, people are like, what happened to you? It's not a good thing for me. So that would be why I regretted that character. Purely because of what it did to my voice. Not because of the character itself, and I enjoyed the things that he did, but anyways, that's my quick answer.
I don't usually have an answer to this question, but I'm in Vancouver, so I'm totally going to make one up. Okay, so like I alluded to earlier, I've worked on, I think, 5 Gundam series, and on one of them, it was one called Gundam Seed Destiny, and I played a character named Diarca, who I loved. And then I also, Diarca gets a woo, I like that. And then I also played another character on that show, and his name was Aul, and I loved him too. So this is a trick answer. The thing I didn't like about that character is, and this is a spoiler, but if you haven't seen it, too bad. It was spoiled for me too. I was at a convention and somebody comes up and says, "Oh, so what do you think about your character getting killed off?" I'm like, we're not that far yet. So every session I went in just waiting for my character to get killed off. And I got really excited about it, right? Because I've died 1,000,000 times in the Gundam universe as like Pilot 39B, right? Kaboom, and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm like, okay, well, now I have a regular character who's going to get killed off. I can have like an epic Gundam death moment. And so I'm prepping for it. So every day I'm in there. Am I dying today? No, Brad, not today. Maybe tomorrow. Okay. All right, so then the one day, You're dying today. Yes, okay, I'm ready for this. So we get up there, and he's in his Abyss Gundam, and his big battle goes for like ever, and then epic triumphant arc of this battle, and he gets impaled by a gigantic staff.
Says the rest.
Yeah, exactly. Randy, you've done much worse. So, but he didn't explode or scream or whatever. My big triumphant death cry was, that was it. And then his Gundam sinks to the bottom of the ocean. Like, oh. I mean, it was the best ever, but still. Yeah.
I would say any character that I played that didn't make it past the pilot episodes. Ones that I don't like.